Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. This is the Oneness Podcast. I am Jessica Delmar. In this episode, we're going to be talking about these feelings of doubt, uncertainty, anxiety, and for a lot of people, dread coming to the surface, especially when it comes to the future. So if these are things you've been experiencing, this episode is for you. There is a large pressure of the future kind of coming down on a lot of people at this time in this awakening and ascension process, especially if you are in the process of letting go of the conditions, of past conditions that once upheld visions of your future. So especially if you are in the process of this awakening and in the process of healing a lot of your past, you might not necessarily recognize how much of that is going to shift your future to the point that when you then start looking at your future, a lot of that doubt kind of comes back, a lot of that anxiety or even dread of the future starts creeping in because that future that you once upheld used to be dependent upon the past conditions that you are now healing. So once you start to heal from those past conditions and patterns of thoughts, old trauma, whatever it is that was upholding your future projections or your future pathways, if you will, your future starts to completely change and the future now becomes unknown, completely unknown and full of possibility. And for a lot of people, that kind of is very scary for a lot of people and a new thing to kind of take a look at and a new thing to kind of face. So a lot of people are kind of in that space, and I really want to talk you through it with this episode. So you have to understand that releasing conditions, which are usually almost always in the past, right, based upon our past, naturally begins occurring as a person faces more and more of themselves in the present moment. And this is because the present moment is unconditional. On the other hand, the past upholds conditions that then becomes the blueprints for the future. So there are more and more people facing many parts of themselves in the present moment because this is just how the timelines are kind of occurring. It's pushing everyone into that now moment timeline, which I've spoken about before, as all of these multiple timelines start to collapse into the now. And so more and more people are coming face to face with themselves in the present moment, even if they may not realize that that's happening to them. However, it is when they get kicked out of that present now moment and they come face to face with, again, their past and their future, that then everything starts coming up. It's like a washing machine. Everything starts bringing up the turmoil, especially when it comes to anxiety and fears surrounding the past and the future. So what happens when people face themselves in the present moment? They start to reconnect with who they truly are. They start to make decisions more in alignment with who they truly are and what they truly want, right? So a lot of people who are feeling called to leave their 9-to-5 work and pursue something more of their passion, those types of things are happening for a lot more people. However, this is taking place in the present now moment. When you get kicked out of that present now moment and you're in your past and your future kind of worries and fears and anxieties, then it becomes even more of a contrast to your present moment. So a lot of people who are unaware that this is happening for them, when they get kicked out of that present now moment and they're starting to see themselves again in their past and their future, they are overcome with a lot of the dread and the anxieties and the fears like, oh my God, maybe I shouldn't have quit my job. I quit my job too early. Maybe I should have spent more time saving money. Oh my God, I'm not going to have insurance. I'm not going to have a 401k. Maybe I shouldn't have spent all of that money on that big trip, etc., etc. So a lot of the doubt kind of comes in. For the decisions that are made in the present moment when you're in alignment, if you get kicked out of that alignment. But you have to remember that who you are and the decisions that you make while authentically present within your now moment is connected to a stream of consciousness that is guiding you on your path through pure inspiration. And this is why the contrast between the now moment, the now present moment, and being out of the now moment is so strong. It's so stark. It's like black and white. Because when you are in alignment, it's like you are being called. You feel that alignment. You feel the inspiration guiding you, and you feel the clarity. And when you're out of the now moment, when you're not in alignment, you feel the doubt, you feel the haziness, you feel the confusion, you feel the overwhelm. So you have to always recognize where you are. Are you in alignment or are you out of alignment? And that should be your only job. Don't worry so much on the thoughts that flow through, the pestering thoughts that flow through to confirm whether you're out of alignment or in alignment. Worry about how you're feeling, and that's all you need to be doing at this moment, is getting yourself back into the feeling of alignment. When you get kicked out of alignment, focus on coming back into the present now moment when you get kicked out of the present now moment. The fear that arises is only because there is a future that is no longer dependent upon a past. The fears are conditions of a past pattern of thought that most of you know you have outgrown. But you know this when you are in alignment, when you are in the now moment. When you get kicked out of the now moment again, the doubt starts to creep in based upon those old patterns of thought that essentially no longer really exist when you're in the now moment, but they're still kind of there within the ether trying to catch hold of someone. And if you are out of alignment, you will be more in resonance with those thoughts and feelings that make you doubt yourself, that make you feel unsure, that make you feel fearful of maybe your choices or where you are in life. When that old thought pattern rises again, it pulls you out of the now moment and back into that unsupported fear of the future and past. We want you to know that this is normal to experience, especially as you are shifting from conditional into unconditional, because again, the past and the future are based upon conditions, while the present now moment is unconditional. But you must remember that you are not your conditions. You do not need to identify with your conditions because you know what unconditional feels like in that now present moment of alignment. Your conditions of your past and your future do not make or break you. And that's where the fear really rises, because you're allowing it to make or break you. Instead, your unconditional nature, which you know of in your now present moment, is what expands you. And you feel that expansion in alignment with your unconditional nature in the now moment. We want to assure you that your true nature is not what you do or what you own. That's a lot of fear that is rising within the collective experience at this time is what do I have? How much do I have that shows other people who I am? Or what do I do that shows other people who I am? It's no longer about that. The reason many of you are trapped in the fears of your future are not because you are being supported through your journey of life, but because you are resisting that support in lieu of trying to control your outcomes, or control your experiences, or control how other people perceive you. Your true nature is one that is in surrender to the harmonics of life, a beating and breathing entity that is beyond human comprehension. The problem is that humans dislike the unknown and like to control everything that is known. So people like to live in the known. It feels comfortable because the unknown is very uncomfortable. The more that you face yourself in the present now moment, and the more that you start to release the conditions of your past, again, is the more that the future becomes unknown. When your future is dependent upon your past conditions, your future is very predictable because, right, you're planning out your future, you're saving for this, you're saving for that, and et cetera, et cetera. So when the future becomes very unknown, it becomes very, very scary for a lot of people. And it is very scary, but that's why you need to lean into your now present moment, because that's where your alignment is. That's where the inspiration is. That's where all of the clues are for your next steps, which are leading you through that unknown space. And also the now present moment, the more you become familiar with that alignment, the more you trust it, the more you really, really, really do feel the support from that greater entity, which is your higher self, the universe, source, God, spirit, whatever you want to call it, that is leading you and guiding you through wherever you are in the now moment, in your alignment. And that's really the only place that you can feel it. So you lean into it more because you feel that support there rather than not feeling the support when you're out of alignment. And when you are in that space of alignment, feeling that support, the unknown future, yes, it might be scary, but it's also full of possibility. That knowing that you're supported every step of the way turns that scary unknown future into possibility and curiosity and inspiration, pure creativity. Now more than ever before, we are being asked to completely surrender. Surrender into your fears instead of trying to control them. Surrender into your uncertainties and doubts about how your future will look like, because you do not need to know. The more you surrender into not knowing, the more you surrender into the flowing harmonics of life, that greater entity that is all-powerful and all-knowing, that you get swept up into the moment you find your alignment in your present now moment. So just because you may not know, whether it's the future or whatever, it does not mean that a knowing is not becoming. That's powerful. Just because you may not know, it does not mean that a knowing is not becoming. You're just in the process of that knowing becoming itself through the unknown. You will know when the knowing is meant to become. If it is not yet known in your awareness, it means you are not yet meant to know. What often blocks our knowing is our attachment to the past. And when we are growing into areas not dependent upon past outcomes, we must first learn to let go and trust what is not yet known. This is part of the process of moving from conditional into unconditional. When we let go of our past, we open more space to grow into an unconditional self aspect within our now moment without established conditions, free of conditions because it's unconditional. We are learning in every moment the power of unconditional love if we can only let go of all of the ways that we drown and bind ourselves within our own conditions. So a big part of facing ourselves in the present now moment and facing a lot of our past is facing the ways that we create limitations for ourselves due to our own perceived conditions. And so the more that we release all of those conditions, the more that we're able to embrace the unconditional aspect of ourselves within the now moment. So let go a little bit. Stop resisting your greater knowing, which is trying to become. It is trying to make itself known to you if you just let it be and stop resisting the ways that you're preventing it from becoming. For many of you, this is easier said than done. You have bills to pay, families to take care of, food to put on the table, health to worry about, retirement to plan and save for. We know that life offers so many obstacles, but what often gets lost in between the doubt, the worry, and the stressors of life is the knowledge of who you truly are in the midst of who you are not. You are powerful in your ability to create. And if you could only see all of the things that you create just by pure thought alone, you would be astonished at your capability to thrive rather than just survive. You would be in awe at the life that you create, even if it's just pure imagination. But it does not need to be just pure imagination. It can absolutely be pure possibility. But to truly thrive, you must also be willing to let go. And letting go in the midst of what you do not want is simply about remembering your true nature, which is complete surrender. Surrender and be guided by the light that always leads you from within. It is your source of health, your source of care, your source of abundance, your source of nourishment, your source of well-being. And just because you do not yet see it does not mean that it is not there. It is always guiding you, but in your state of surrender, you will come to actually know it and feel it. When you do not know what to do with your life, you are in the perfect place to be guided. So place your trust in a higher power and lean into the not knowing. Surrender your path to allow God, Source, the universe, Spirit, to guide you through all of your conditions as you meet them face to face head on, so that the clarity of your unconditional nature becomes more and more known and familiar to you. And that's what came through for you, especially if you are feeling doubts, uncertainties, and anxieties and stresses about life at this moment. I hope that this message helped to ease some of those fears. You are unconditional, and everything you are experiencing at this time is trying to peel you open to see it, to know it, to trust it, so that it can become you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for all of your support. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next episode. Oneness, love, and peace be with you.